right. Welcome back to the Limitless Life Podcast. And welcome if you're new here. I'm your host, Brenda Johnston. And I can't believe I actually remembered to say that part because when I'm doing podcasts on video, which is completely new to me, it's weird and I forget. And I'm super excited about today's episode for a couple of reasons. One is because I have my good friend Samantha Parker back with me. But two, she's here to help celebrate episode 200. Welcome, Samantha Parker.
This is such a big milestone for you. Can you edit in like some confettis going off and like glitter raining behind me?
Maybe. You know what's funny? I thought of that earlier. I'm like, I wish I had one of those like confetti popping things. Would make
Yeah.
a horrible mess in my office. I mean, with AI, maybe it could. Okay, if I can figure out how to do that, that's going to be epic.
I know how to do it.
Oh God, we're totally going to do that. I honestly, we've been through a lot in the last year together. And when I was thinking about who I wanted to have on for this episode, I was like, oh, I know exactly who needs to do this with me. And it was always you. It's been you for months. I just didn't ask you. I was like, okay, so by the way, you're going to be on my podcast, episode 200. You cool with that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I felt really honored when you reached out and asked me, honestly.
Aw, thanks. For those of you who don't know Samantha, we call her the Samantha Parker because she has the Samantha Parker show. She's my famous friend. We'll get into why. And she is a CEO and creative media director. But you also have such an empowering personal story, which is really what I wanted to get into on this episode, and we will. But for people who might be meeting you for the first time, how would you describe what you do and like what really just lights you the fuck up?
Well, essentially, like I create content. That's what I do. Content on the internet. So podcasts, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. Okay, we can like give Facebook a little credit. I got my start on Facebook. We all did. Well, actually, I got my start on MySpace. I was so into MySpace.
Well, I never had a MySpace.
I did, and it caused so much drama. I would move my like top 8 around all the time, and oh my gosh. I remember my friend called me and was like, "Did you take me off your top 8?" And I was like, "Yeah, you guys were really rude to me last night."
I only got Facebook. I was working in corporate and everybody was on Facebook and they're like, "You need a Facebook." And I was like, I did not understand why people would want to know what I was doing all the time. I was like, this just seems really stupid. So for the first 2 years of Facebook, my profile was a picture of a box with some legs sticking out of it and two eyeballs because I thought it was the dumbest thing ever. And like here we are on video. Freaking MySpace. Yeah, I don't. What's your favorite platform to be on?
Well, it changes a lot, and it's evolved over the years. Right now, I am so amazed by YouTube Shorts. I love them. The comments, like I feel like I'm building a little community, and I never thought I would be saying this. But the comments are so kind and so genuine, and people are like really on YouTube, looking for information. So right now,
Mm.
YouTube Shorts are one of my favorite platforms. Still love, love, love TikTok. I love my Substack. Have you ventured into Substack? I would say that's
I've ventured in to read
small.
yours.
I'm really loving my Substack. And like I have this whole vision and dream for my Substack. I don't think it's quite there. It's like still like a new little baby to me, but I'm loving my Substack as well.
What do you love
Oh, and
so
then,
much about it?
well, I like to write. So what I think is kind of cool about it is it gives you like almost like a bloggy type platform, like a bloggy space on the internet. But then there's also like a community piece in it and the fact that like you can scroll through it like social media.
Hmm.
So there's like the main post, like so usually I'll share like a little note every day. I try to, but that goes into like the main feed that's like algorithm controlled. But so that's kind of fun. So I'm scrolling through the feed, but I'm seeing stuff where people are still really genuinely contributing to Substack, if that makes sense. Like they're pouring little pieces of their heart and soul
Yeah.
over there versus social media in general feels a little different than that. It kind of feels like Substack to me, I'm trying to really put this into words, okay? Substack kind of feels like You know, you walked into your grandma's house and she's making your favorite dinner and you're like, oh, this feels nice. This feels like I'm at home.
Oh, I love that because I kind of feel like, and this is a whole other podcast, but I kind of feel like social media has started to feel weird because everybody's just using ChatGTP. And listen, I use it too. It's a great tool, but people are losing their own energy and losing themselves in it. And it's like, in one way, I kind of appreciate it because I spend less time on social media because everything just sounds the same and I don't need to read it all.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh,
Well, I think though it's okay. Because ChatGPT is great. Like I kind of look at it as my little helper, like my Apple Watch almost,
yes,
you know?
yes.
And I use it as my little helper. And obviously I, own a social media company and we're producing social media for so many people. And ChatGPT has changed the game for us. And how I really see it as the game changer for us is that let's say like I have this creative idea. I can put my creative idea into ChatGPT, but sometimes it's so complicated to like actually execute that creative idea as a piece of content on the internet. So ChatGPT and I can like sit and brainstorm back and forth.
Hmm.
I just literally like minutes ago, Brenda, I just filmed like you'll see it run as an ad for one of my clients. They're lawyers and we're giving away football tickets.
Mm.
And I had like an idea of what I wanted the script to be for them to read and like act out this video. But ChatGPT kind of like really locked it in for me. And it was like lawyer one, lawyer two, lawyer. And I was like, make sure it has these facts in it. So it helped me like with the actual deliverable that we were able to execute.
Yeah, that's why I love it too. I look at it as like a creative partner, a brainstorming partner that can help me like
Yeah.
kind of refine ideas that I already have. And then we still put our own voices behind it. You know what? I just have to go back for a second because you said something that's now made me go, huh. You said the people in the comments on YouTube have been very kind. That's amazing.
I know. And, a lot of people, and I think you've said this, they have an aversion to TikTok
Hmm.
because they're so nervous that people are going to be mean. And I'm like, how weird. That's so odd. Like, I have people DMing me telling me I changed their life. And, like, thanks for sharing my stupid story. And but it's just again it's that aversion. So for a long time I've been like, oh, YouTube, it's gonna be a bunch of dudes telling me I'm ugly or something.
That's what.
And it's been the opposite. Well, actually, I sent you all those screenshots on that one video where everyone's telling me I'm hot and I'm like, this wasn't a thirst trap. It wasn't.
I just love it's so funny. I think you posted it too. You're like, well, maybe I should consider starting an OnlyFans.
Yes, the one guy was like, this whatever this girl's saying, I don't know, but she's fine as fuck. And dying. I'm like, I'm 40. Like, what is happening?
But you know what's funny, and knock on wood, I think maybe in my whole time being I think maybe I've had like one horrible comment. For the most part, people they're nice over there too. I think it's just this belief, right? So we have these
Hmm.
stories and we get stories from other people that maybe have been in our lives, and then we turn those stories into our stories, and that doesn't have to be our experience. I will say I get a lot of funny, I'm calling them funny, but all these like strange men being like, "Hello, baby. I love you, baby." I'm like, "Okay, thanks." I just don't answer those
In
ones.
your DMs.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's normal. Everybody
I'm like,
does.
this is just so weird and gross. Thank you for coming out.
Oh, absolutely.
This is kind of like the perfect lead in to what I really wanted to talk to you about on this episode. And also, for all of you watching this video, these podcast videos wouldn't actually exist without Samantha because she's the one that gave me the virtual kick in the ass to. It was a challenge, actually. You said, I'm challenging you to put some video podcasts out. And I was like, oh, that seems like a lot of work. Maybe I'll just do it with interviews. So that's where we've started with the interviews. But it was because of you. That's why this exists. So
But are you finding that they're that hard to edit?
no, not now that I have this thing that you introduced me to. It's still scary
Yeah,
because
we're using a little bit of AI.
yeah, it's this cool, we can record in this program and then you can edit. It gives you this like the words that we're saying and you literally I can just delete words and it clips the video. Like it's actually mind blowing, but I still have to get used to it because I'm like, oh, I don't know, and I don't know how to add music to my videos or anything. So it's just video. It's just video for now. But I did figure out how to add my logo. That was cool.
Ooh, I'm finding that we're doing some things in this program. So the program she's referencing is DoesScript, but then we're taking and kind of doing some of our finishing things in, I almost said ChatGPT, in CapCut.
Yeah, which is what I did for my first episode because it was just easier for me to do it that way. I was like, I'm just going to do this. But now, as I get used to this program, I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. And no, we are not affiliates to this program. We just really happen to like it. But I really want to talk to you about the type of content that you're putting on YouTube because you have been sober for well over a year now. I was with you last October when you were about 3 months sober, I believe it was. And like just watching you go on this journey of sobriety and watching how empowering you are, like you've inspired me in so many ways. And every time something comes up that's hard, I can hear your voice in my head. You're like, well, we can do hard things. And then I remember, oh, yeah, we can because you've been sober for over a year. So I want to talk about that. Can you take us back to like the moment you decided to get sober? Like what was going on in your life at that time or your mind in that time?
Oh, that was a shit show day. You want to talk about
Yeah,
that?
I do.
Great. Let me put that hat on. Obviously, in sobriety, so I quit alcohol 449 days ago, but who's counting?
Woo!
It's me. And yeah, it was in a really, really low place, but there was so much. I started drinking at the age of 17, and then I would say my alcoholism really took a hit at like 22. And so from 22 to 39, heavy, heavy drinker, constantly was battling with it. Alcohol was so entwined in my life. Just to get people in the mindset of where I was the other day, like this is like 3 days ago, Brenda, my husband and I are like, we're having a hard conversation.
Mhm.
And I'm like, I think we need to like write out the boundaries that I have of like things that are okay and not okay with me because I keep getting triggered about alcohol, in our house. And he was like, okay, yeah, totally. Like, my husband's pretty open to conversations. And he goes, I just don't understand why you call yourself an alcoholic. And normally, like, I would have freaked out, but I was like, let's pause and explore this. Let's get curious. And I'm like, okay, tell me more. And he goes, I don't understand. Like, why were you thinking about alcohol all the time? Why were you so consumed with it? Why was it like such a huge part of your life? And he goes, I never feel that way ever. And so he was saying that he'd figured out like why I call myself an alcoholic.
Mhm.
And he's like, I get it. I get it now. But so you guys, that's how I was. I was thinking about when I could drink next, where I would drink next. If there was alcohol in a room or an event, or even if we'd gone out to dinner, I was like consumed with how many drinks other people were having and how many I thought I could have. Like it was like so heavy in my mindset. It consumed so much of my energy. But yeah, the day I quit drinking was a shitty day. I No, it was a pleasant afternoon. I had just made $1 million and I had lost 49 pounds and I was like, no, it was a shitty day.
But this is
So
honestly why I love you and why what you're doing is so powerful is because you're giving people permission to not just be in the dumps and not feel the guilt or whatever. So let's go back.
yes,
Let's go back to your shitty day.
my shitty day. Yeah, my son actually had COVID. And I always say I'm a high functioning alcoholic. So my kids were always fed. I was running the business. Life looked really well on the outside, but people, they don't realize what you're experiencing internally. But anyways, my son had COVID. I had called a home health nurse to come over and give him IV fluids. This is on a Sunday. And my friend's like, hey, why don't you take a break from your family and come over to the pool? And I was like, that actually sounds really nice. So what did I proceed to do? Blitzed drunk at this pool on a Sunday. There were tequila shots. I think I had 2 bottles of wine. And then my dumb ass gets in my car and drives home. And a lot of people are like, oh, she probably ended up in jail. No, I didn't. I wish I would have. I know we've all done stupid things, but just like drinking and driving, I'm like, what the fuck, Sam?
Mm.
So, anyways, I get home and my husband's in the garage and he's like, "Did you just drive home?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." And he was like, "I don't think you should have drove home." So he's kind of like arguing with me as I like walk inside the door, you know? And I go in and this home health nurse is over and he's giving my son, or she's giving my son an IV. And I go in and I'm chatting it up with her. And then I walk out and the lady goes, "What's wrong with your mom?" And my son goes, "Oh, she's just drunk again." And that's when it really, really hit me. I was like, I have a problem. And in true drunk fashion, I lost my mind, right? I was hysterically crying. I was like, I can't drink anymore. I don't know how to stop drinking. But there had been quite a few events like previous to this day. Something happened with I was like, with a very close family member. I never want to tell someone else's like alcohol story. That's their story
Mhm.
to tell. But I was looking at like my behavior. Like there was a lot of things going on, you guys. Let's just say that. Is that okay if I just leave it kind of
Yeah,
blank?
of course.
Okay. I'm like, that's her story to tell. It's not mine. So there had been a lot going on where I was like, I've really got to look at my drinking. You know, I had done some things and acted some ways I wasn't proud of. So it was all crunching in to that moment. And my husband did a beautiful thing for me. He calls my uncle who has 30 years of sobriety. Why the hell he did this? Like he picked up my phone and because I was sitting in my car, you know, and it's hot with the door closed and I'm crying hysterically like a drunk dumbass. And he's like, "Hey, I have someone on the phone." And my uncle's like, "What's going on, Sam?" He goes, "It sounds like you've been drinking." And I was like, "I can't drink anymore." And he's like, "I know, I'll help you get sober."
Mm.
So that kind of kickstarted it. And so that was a Sunday. Monday morning, I walked into AA. No, Monday afternoon, I walked into an AA. It was a women's only meeting Monday nights at 6:30 here in Southern Utah. If anyone wants to go, that's my home group now. But I walked into that AA meeting ashamed. I mean, it took me 6 months to even talk to these people. And I'm a very outgoing person. I was ashamed. I would just look at the floor and I would leave as soon as the meeting was over.
Mm.
But I did it, you know?
Oh, that
There you go. How was that?
that was I didn't know your husband had called your uncle. That's
Yeah.
such a wow. That's an amazing thing that he did for you.
Yeah, my husband and I have had to really like kind of navigate things in sobriety because, you know, there's a lot of things that come up where like I'm just a different person. I don't know how to act like in intimate situations and I don't know what I'm okay with. And, you know, he's had to look at his own drinking patterns and habits. So it's been like a really bumpy year of just hard conversations.
Mhm.
But every time like we have another hard conversation, I'm like, wow, like it's like you're kind of unpeeling alcohol was like an onion, you know, that was hiding all the things. But I
Mhm.
feel like we're unpeeling like this onion, but the onion's really good inside. I don't know where I'm going with that.
That's a good metaphor. It's a good metaphor. And I remember, I mean, you had kind of talked a little bit about being sober, but you didn't really talk about it until one day came you just came out and said it. What was that like, just coming out and saying it?
I literally did remember
Yeah, I
I
do
did a
remember. I
podcast
was like, "Oh."
and I had disappeared. I had people like get this, okay? My mom goes in to get her Botox done. And the my friend Carolyn is the nurse injector. She's the injector Carolyn. She's fabulous, you guys. And she's like, "Is Sam okay?" Like she's not on social media. She's not texting back. Like, is she okay? And my mom's like, "Yeah, I think so. I think she's just spending some time with her family." Like people were like, "What the where did she go?" You know? Everyone's like, "Where are you? Why won't you go to lunch with me?" I had someone like literally like kind of grab me and was like, "What the hell?" You know?
Oh, man.
And but I did 8 weeks of I would say just like cocooning. I wasn't sure how to talk to people. I didn't want to meet anyone for lunch or drinks. I didn't want to talk about it because I was the loser who couldn't drink anymore.
Mm.
And that was just, you know, that was just a mindset. It's not what people were actually thinking. But yeah, I did. I cocooned, but it was literally like killing me. I'm like, there's no way. What am I just never going to show up again? And so I got a friend of mine who had boldly stated on social media that she was taking a break from drinking, and I convinced her to do a podcast episode with me because I couldn't even do it myself. So thank you, Jalen. But she did this podcast episode with me, and then I just blasted it. And the clip that went out on social media was wild. It was like, I don't even want to say this. I don't even want to say this. And she's like, just say it. And I'm like, I am 8 weeks sober.
Yeah, but you know what? I think that whole healing out loud thing was so fucking powerful. Like, so powerful. And I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but did that kind of help people relate to you?
Yeah, it has. I think oh, that's a good question, Brenda. Because a lot of people have related to me, but then it also was like you had to clean out the dust bunnies, the crusty dusties had to go. But also, I have to look at myself in that. And I was also very toxic in a lot of relationships as well. So I keep saying I have this horrible like body bags from this last year because there's so many people that aren't in my life anymore.
Mm,
But there's so many amazing people, like new people. And then also, like, there's still a ton of amazing people that were there for me through all of it?
mm-hmm.
I think you were very big in all that.
Oh, thanks. I just remember being with you and we were at a mastermind and there was a lot of booze around and I was just like, "Hey man, you want to go for a walk? Let's just go. Let's just go to the beach." Which
Yeah, that was still hard for me because I was still very triggered. I was in a hotel room by myself, and I remember I walked in this hotel room and they had this beautifully lit hot pink mini bar. And so, like, that was the night before that mastermind. And so that was hard, right? That was really hard. I almost called the front desk and asked them if they like do stuff for alcoholics, if they could remove everything.
that's
But it was fine.
actually, girl, that's a great. I wonder if they do because isn't it weird how society puts the drinking almost like on a pedestal? Like they had this beautiful hot pink mini bar. Like
Yeah.
that's
I do think it would be cool if you could like check a button, like smoking, non-smoking, like alcoholic, non-alcohol. It would be really
that
awesome.
would be really. I'm sensing another collaboration for you. I don't know what it is yet, but it's coming.
Catching it, and so it is.
Because honestly, because I think more and more people are becoming non-drinkers, right? And so I feel like that would be a really cool kind of thing for
Well,
hotels to
we
have.
have so many modifications for so many things, for so many, like, for people who are neurodivergent. Like, I mean, think of all the things that we're accommodating people for.
Mhm.
Why is this actually not at the forefront? Maybe we should start a little movement.
Why isn't this at the forefront? That's a really great question. Hmm.
Yeah. Why is there fucking alcohol in every room?
Yeah.
That's something else we need to look at. I get they're making money. They're just making money off of you guys. They're making money off of your misery.
Mm.
And it's not a good time. To take a bottle from a mini bar, a full bottle of like Patron or some sort of high level thing. I mean, what's that bill gonna be? Maybe like probably close to $500.
Yeah,
And then what
easy.
are you gonna do? Drink a whole bottle of Patron on the rooftop hot tub or in your room on the balcony, and then how are you going to feel the next morning? People need to really play the whole thing out.
Mm,
I was afraid everyone was going to hate me, everyone was going to leave me, my friends and family weren't going to like me anymore. I mean, the fears were so big. I was afraid that all of my clients, and a big one was my biggest client, I thought for sure they were going to leave me. And what's so funny is he reached out to me after it all came out and he goes, "You're just like blowing up online. I just want to make sure like we still fit in your schedule." He's like, "It is amazing to watch you." He's like, "You're running races. You're doing all these things. Is there anything we can do for you?" It was like the opposite.
hmm That was the amazing thing to watch too, because you started running and you'd take your dog Dolly out for your runs, and I don't even know how you film your runs when you run. I can't even
Like this in
walk.
my right boob, my right tits can fly up and hit my eye. Like it looks awful. Like my cheeks are, yeah, it's awful, but I just do
But you
it.
do, and you do it for like the whole thing, and you're running. I remember in the beginning, you'd be out of breath, but you'd still be going, and then you'd get to like these crazy stairs. And you're like, I need to go up the stairs, and now you're like, okay, so I just finished a 10K run, and you're like completely composed. I'm like, what?
I know Saturday, because I kind of fallen off my running game. Not off, but just wasn't like consistently running like I was. Like I was just running like once a week or something. But Saturday I was like, I'm gonna go run a 10K just to like benchmark where my pace is at. And I'm like, who the fuck am I?
Right?
And this morning, feels very appropriate that I did this. I ran my OG running route. So it was where I very first started, where I had the timer, the Couch to 5K app. And it's like you run a minute and then you could walk a few minutes and you'd run a minute. And I ran the whole thing. The only reason I didn't run the last part back is I was going to like have a brown emergency. It was like, I've never been that close to shitting myself on a run ever. But I'm like, I had a lot of really like big moments though today, minus that one.
I love your morning runs because what have we just you're 2 hours behind me, right? I think.
I am, yeah.
Yeah, so when Samantha's up super early and I'm up at like 7 walking my dog, we're having conversations about what we're doing. She's like, "Okay, I'm going for my 10K run." I'm like, "Okay, I'm walking to the dog and then I'm going to the gym." We're like workout buddies, but in different countries at different it's like time traveling.
I know sometimes at the gym, my friend Cody is like, "Who are you? Like, why do you answer clients this early in the morning?" And I'm like, "No, it's Brenda." He's like, "Are you going to do your sets?" And I'm like, "No, I'm texting."
Do you know who I'm talking to? But I'm telling you, sometimes your voice notes are what get me through like my warm up cardio because I'm like, yes, yes, yes.
We just have TED Talks every
We
day.
do. We have some very deep conversations very early in the morning, is what I'm gonna say. Yeah.
Yeah. And can I just take a minute though, Brenda, and just, you have to realize what an accomplishment this is, 200 episodes?
I know, I'm pretty excited. It seems
Yeah.
crazy. You know what seems crazier, and we've talked about this? That it was almost a year ago that we were together, but I don't know where this year went. Like time sped up very fast. How am I at my 200th episode? Like nothing makes sense right now. I'm like, wow, everything just sped right up. And every day, anytime I run into that, oh, I don't want to do this. I hear your voice. We can do hard things. Yeah, we fucking can. What would you
Yeah, absolutely.
like? So you were afraid that people weren't going to like you and you weren't going to be loved. Did that like how did your reality compare to what you were imagining?
Well, there was a few people, who were very accepting of it, but it was like after a few months in, it was never like, "Oh, we don't want to be your friend because you're not drinking." But what I was realizing was I was seeing how much I would repeat the same pattern of, they would tell me that like I had done this horrible thing to them and I'm a horrible person, and I would go like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry," because that's what I did in drinking. The shame and guilt cycle was what I got off on, to be honest. I was like, "Oh, I'm so horrible. I feel so bad." Like, "Oh my gosh, like what did I say last night?" But I was also replaying that pattern just in my own relationships too. So normal friendships. And so when I was no longer willing to be like, "Oh my gosh, you're right. I am horrible. Why did I go eat that burger with someone else?" You remember the burger
I do
incident?
remember
Yeah.
the burger incident. That was so bizarre.
And when I got sober, it's like this fog is lifted from you and you're like, "What the hell? Like, what the hell?" And so the relationships really deteriorated over me finally realizing like how toxic they were, the part I had been playing in them. But also, I've noticed too, a lot of toxic behavior was suddenly being thrown at me. And I think it had nothing to do with anything but the fact that I was different, right? Like I was carrying myself different. Things were going really, really well for me. And so I don't think people sat down and they're like, "This bitch is doing so well. Let's see how we can take her down."
Mhm.
It just, I think, was playing out more like subconsciously, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want people to understand because the way we're speaking, it does sound like, oh, you just gave up alcohol and everything was great. Has it actually been that easy? Like, have you had moments of like, holy flying fuckballs, I think I just need to have a drink?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. May was a really hard month for me. And when I looked back over the summer from like May till now, the amount of things that have happened, but I think that's not a great energy to be in. But I did allow myself today to just like think about like, "Oh my gosh, like this has been a really wild like few months." Like go ahead and honor that and give yourself some grace. But then I shifted my focus to like look at all the things that have gone right,
Mm.
because I don't want to stay in that pity party energy. But yeah, a lot of wild things have happened. In May, we went on that trip from hell to the Dominican Republic, and that's the only way I can say it, you guys. This was an absolute trip from fucking hell. I came home to something, the worst thing I could think of happening with a child. It was on the top of my list, and I was like, did that just, yeah, I really lost my mind over that. But again, I'm going to leave that.
Yeah.
You'll see a podcast episode in the future. And then I had a friend pass away, and it was like there's a lot of other things too, you guys. But I was like, oh my gosh, like no wonder I just feel like I've just been swimming, just trying to keep my head up.
Mm.
But have I wanted to drink during that? Yes, I have.
And so what makes you go, no, I'm not doing that now?
Yeah, I'm not going to go pick up a drink and have a drink. What I'm looking for is reprieve. So I'm looking to numb out. And I even recently caught myself doing it with social media. I was doing it like extensively, like a couple hours at night and then a couple hours in the morning. And I love watching social media. And I don't think there's anything different than watching Netflix at night, you
Yeah,
know? I'm like, who
same.
cares if I want to watch 30 minutes of TikTok? Like, who fucking cares? But I was really using it to just shut everything off in my brain. And I had to be like, okay, like, look at this toxic behavior you're doing. Like, hey, what if you pulled back? And so I pulled back from it. I have to tell you, my energy is so much better this week.
I love that. And there might be so many women, and I'm saying women, but men also listen to this podcast. But there might be people listening to this questioning their own relationship with alcohol. What would you say to them, to these people who might be, I hate the word sober curious, but I don't know what a better word is. What would
I
you,
hate the word. Did you just listen to the podcast that I did with my mutual friend of ours, Nancy?
oh, did you say
She asked
sober
me about
curious?
she brought up, what do you think of the word sober
Oh, I
curious?
hate.
And yeah, I said I hate it too, but I would have used it to kind of like describe what you're going through, you know? But I don't think you can stay sober curious.
No,
So this is my take.
yeah. What
Yeah.
would you say to
So
these
sometimes
people?
I think I think we start to take a look at our drinking where we're like, hey, like, what would happen if I cut out alcohol? Why am I drinking so much? So that word sober curious can be used to describe a phase, like a discovery phase. Like, do I have bad habits with alcohol? But then I challenge people because I did this. I did this in 2020, but I called it redefining my relationship with alcohol, which was just an ultimate shit show. Okay. It was so bad. It was so bad. But I did stay sober for like 60 days. And then I was like right back off and running. But honestly, you guys, if you're waking up in the morning and you're like, oh my God, I'm so hungover. I can't believe I said that last night. Or if you're like, why am I sitting here at this table having drinks with these people? Why am I reaching for that bottle when I'm upset to celebrate? You know, because it's our solution to every emotion. If you're asking yourself that, it's time to ditch alcohol.
Hmm. I think it's interesting because so many people, even now that I see, they're like, well, I could just not drink if I just didn't want to drink. And I can tell that they don't want to drink, but they have so many people around them that they're afraid to give it up. Like, it's fascinating. I'm really lucky because my partner doesn't drink, so I don't I don't have to deal with that. But like, how would you what would you say to those people who are afraid that like people aren't going to love them or aren't going to like them? Like when you were feeling that.
Well, I think you will have people like that in your life. You know, that's just like facts are facts, right? Like just like if you decide to move to Chicago and your mom's not going to like that because maybe she lives down the street from you, you know? You're just
Mhm.
going to have people in your life who don't like some of the decisions that you make, and it doesn't really fucking matter because they're not the ones living it. I know for me, I had this conversation with my husband too, and we are having our recent hard conversation. As I said, I know if the roles were reversed, I would have been pissed. I would have been like, what do you mean you're not going to drink alcohol? And I would have been like, please just go out and have some drinks with me, pushing, pushing, pushing. So you are going to have people like that in your life, like me, you know, that were like, oh my God, I don't like them. I used to have this saying, Brenda, it's so embarrassing. But, you know, I live in a Mormon area, I live in Utah. And so, you know, I'll have acquaintances and things like that that are of the Mormon faith and they don't drink. And I would always say, like, oh, we can be friends, but we'll never be friends because we can't drink together. You know, I'm like, how do you actually be friends with someone if you can't have drinks with them? And that was the logic that I thought. You know,
Mm.
my brain, I think it was broken, okay? It really was.
So you were a pusher.
So I was a big pusher. Yeah, if you went out with me, I was pushing shots on you.
Interesting. Huh.
Yeah. Of course, if you were like, no, no, I mean, I wasn't
Yeah,
psychotic. I wasn't going to drug you. And
drink it.
yeah, but I wanted the people next to me to match my level, you know?
Hmm.
And so I would hang out with people too that were going to match that level.
Mm. That's so powerful to recognize that that's what you were doing. I feel like you've had so much growth over this last year too, like just watching you and your journey and how you're like empowering all these other people. And at the beginning of this episode, I was like, "You're my famous friend," because you are. Samantha can literally go get a coffee or go into stores, and people are like, "I already put your name on it because I know you. I watched your TikTok or I watched your YouTube." You've had people reach out telling you like that they're 8 days sober. Like it's
Yeah, and if you go to my social media, I don't have like 4.2 million followers. It's a very like normal, humbling. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't realize I was having that big of an impact on people, and it's been kind of like blowing my mind. Especially here locally where I live. I'm like, wow, that's really cool. I was dying though because me and you make jokes about it because A, I'm like slightly mortified, but B, I'm also very happy that my story is helping someone else
yeah.
and that my bravery is helping someone else. But the other day I screenshotted it for you. I get this DM in my Instagram and it says, I just saw you passed you, or no, I passed you in the ER tonight. You didn't look very happy. And I'm like, I need to go to the hospital. I was like, oh, my son broke his wrist. So I was probably stressed. I'm like, I have resting bitch face. I don't know what to tell you.
But like I just think it's so funny and cool. Like I think it's funny and cool. And you're getting some really cool collaborations with some really cool companies. Like it's just been, for me, I sound creepy, but I'm like, for me sitting back and watching, it's it's been really cool to watch you grow and like expand and do all of these things. How would you say that your journey has impacted the way you show up in your business now? Has that changed?
Oh, for sure. One of the biggest things is I know that if I set a goal, I will commit to it and I can see it through. So, and that's what you're watching, Brenda, this last year is the byproduct of me being like, no, I actually can see this through. And it's a little slower than I would like it to be. I'm not a patient person, but I know that the wins are stacking up, and it's a snowball and I can start to feel it moving faster. But that's how it's changed in my business. I'm like, okay, if I can set this goal, I know I can see, I can create a spreadsheet of how we can actually achieve it. Where before I would set the goal, then I would go back into the shame and guilt, like, oh, the post I made wasn't good enough. And so I
Mm.
was constantly repeating the pattern. And it wasn't like all one day, you don't just rip this band-aid off and you're ready to go. But it's been very slow growth where I'm like, oh, I don't do that anymore.
Mm. Have you noticed changes in like your creativity or the way you can focus, or have you noticed changes in the type of clients you attract?
Yes, 100%. So I know it was at 7 months. I was sitting in my office at home actually, and I was like, what can I do to get this moving? And it was like all of a sudden I've been making jokes. I go to AA, so I tell the story in AA, but I felt like the hand of God. I don't know how else to describe it, okay? I felt like someone just like swept through my brain and all of a sudden I was thinking differently. I was thinking more clearly. I could see how like I could solve this problem that I was sitting down to kind of solve in my business. I was like, how are we going to do this moving forward? And I just typed it in a Google Doc. But it was such a clear moment and I'm really grateful for that gift that I got where
Mm.
I felt the defining line, but on a scientific level that actually does happen, just not, I think that was a gift from God. It was like you're going to feel the exact moment when your brain shifts. But within 30 days of quitting alcohol, your neurons start to like fire again and like reconnect. The amount of like brain damage that alcohol does to your brain is insane. Like if they really started teaching people this on a broad level, you would be like, what the fuck am I doing?
Mm.
If you guys go research it, go have a conversation with ChatGPT, it'll blow your mind.
I was gonna ask you what the most unexpected gift of sobriety has been, but you kind of just explained that with like this clarity. And yeah, I did. Oh, that gave me shivers when you're like, it just felt like divine.
It did. It felt like something came in and was just sweeping my brain. And I've asked other people, in sobriety, I'm like, have you ever had like this moment where your thinking was clear? And they're like, yeah, it was really gradual. And I really started to notice it like amping up more 3 to 4 months, to a year. And I was like, it wasn't just like someone turned the light switch on.
I love that. What would you say are some like I mean, I think I know what you're going to say about this. What would you say are some of your daily practices or tools that you use that have been the most supportive for you on this journey?
Well, I really think like having people around you that kind of get what you're going through. I know that you're not an alcoholic, but you've been someone I could easily reach out to and share openly with. And I think that really, really matters. So wherever you find it, maybe it's a therapist, a mental health professional, or it's just two crazy bitches shooting the shit. Or, you go work a program, which I highly recommend. If no one's ever done a 12-step program, that will change your life. And I've paid to go to Tony Robbins. I've walked on fire. I've done all these things. And that 12-step program changed my life. Go find other alcoholics is what they say in AA, but it doesn't matter it doesn't really fucking matter how you do sobriety, but I do think you're going to need someone around you that gets it. So maybe it's you read a lot of books, you tap into podcasts. One time I was reading this book and I'm like, oh my God, that makes so much sense. And it was, another mom had written it. And so I could see myself in a lot of it.
Did you start running to help clear your mind?
So that was another gift from God. I hope your listeners are okay with that word. You can interchange it for universe
for whatever.
Yeah. I had this really strong desire to start running 30 days before I got sober. I could not tell you where it came from or why. I do know that that's when I broke up with my health coach. She was like, running's so bad for women and their hormones, and like, stick with the plan, which is funny because I had been working with her for like 6 months, wasn't losing any weight. And it was because I was lying about how much alcohol I was drinking. Like I would be like, I had one vodka soda in Vegas. And she's like, I'm so proud of you. And I'm like, me too. We've had talks since. I'm like, I do apologize for that. But basically I was like, take your health plan and shove it up your ass. I'm going to run. And so I downloaded the Couch to 5K app and I just started running. And thank God I did, you guys, because the first 6 weeks of sobriety, I would just go out and run and I would just cry. I would cry and cry and cry. And I think it was about 3 to 4 months in when my friend Cody entered the chat and was like, I want to start running with you. And I was like, no, thank you. He's like, why? I'm like, this is my mental health personal time. Like, you'll think I am a total psychopath if you start running with me. And he's like, I don't give a fuck. I just want to run with you.
Oh my God, that's so funny. No, you
Yeah.
cannot run with me. No. I almost feel like that was your soul knew what was coming. Your soul knew what was getting ready to happen. And it was like,
Yeah. I needed that because every time I would go out and run, I could stack a win, Like, oh my gosh, this is the first time I've ever ran for 5 minutes straight. I remember the first time I ran for 30 minutes straight, I cried like a baby on this bench at the park, because I was like, I can't believe I could do that. So I was like, I was able to stack some wins.
Because we can do hard things, Samantha. Now, all of you, that's all I ever want you to think about in your head when you go to do something that's scary or new. You can do hard things. You can. You absolutely can.
I'm surprised you didn't disown me from the text I sent you the other day where I said, just shut the fuck up.
Oh, right. Because I was like, I just don't know what to put on YouTube if I'm putting shorts up. And you're like, just shut the fuck up and post the content.
That's how I felt. I was like, shut up. Post the fucking video. And then I was like, well, that wasn't very nice, but I sent it. I can't take it back.
That's the relationship we have, so it's okay. Not only do we have the friendship, we're private detectives. We're all the things. It's been an interesting year, that's for sure. What I really want to talk about also, because I know people are going to be wondering this, how do you actually navigate social situations now? Because in the beginning, you said you took 8 weeks because you didn't want to go out with people, you didn't want to be where booze was. So how are you navigating these social situations and environments that used to be so tied to drinking?
Yeah, so at first, and I really did this up until that shit trip in May, where I'm like, I'm never going to, the shit is a gift, you guys. It's always a gift. God, Brenda, this is such a loaded question. So I definitely spent that the first year of sobriety, pushing through it. So I was trying to prove to people that I could still hang, I could still go on the camping trip, I could still go on the girls' vacation, I could still do all these things. And, I would get the results I wanted. People would be like, oh yeah, she's great, she can still hang. But I realized after May, there was a point where I'm like, I'm tired. I'm so tired. I'm mentally exhausted from having to prove myself. And I just was like, I don't want to do that anymore. So you guys just have to figure out like what's gonna work for you. But I know like it's like I took that coat off and I just hung it up and I'm like, I don't have anything to prove to anyone. I don't want to go to the concert where all of you are gonna be drunk. I don't want to come over for drinks at the pool, even though, I'll take my Diet Coke and I'll push through it. But I'm like, I just don't think I want to do that anymore. So really I would tell you guys to ask yourselves, like, what do you actually want to do? Instead of like having to prove. I was really having to prove that, like, I don't know what. I don't even know what it was, but I was trying to prove to everyone around me that they could still love me. Oh, that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
That I was still lovable and I was still accepted and that you wouldn't hate me. I always want everyone to like me. And I was really trying to prove it. And I just don't really care anymore. So I don't know, you guys. I don't know
Yeah,
if it's good advice or not.
I think that's great advice, to be honest.
Another thing too, though, is there are things I want to go to, and I tell people just take your support drink. Always have your comfort support drink with you. Always have a drink in hand and have a drinking plan for when you go places.
Love that. And you know what's interesting too, and I've shared this with you. I've been finding little like mocktail things in the market that I go to, and I'm trying different non-alcoholic things because when it comes to alcohol, I think it's the taste of it that I like. Maybe. I don't know. God, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like,
Well,
what is it about that? Like I like the flavor of wine, maybe. I don't know. Anyways, I've been finding these really cool like little mocktail drinks in the market that I go to, and I'm like, oh, so now I'm trying new things because of you. Like, oh, I want to try this. Oh, I want
yeah,
to do this.
there's so many fun drinks out there. So many.
You guys, you have to follow her either on like TikTok or Instagram. Follow her on all the things, which I'm going to link everything up. But you will do these things. And you did one the other day. I was like, oh, that looks delicious. I hope I can get that in Canada. But it was the vinegar when you were making the rosé with the vinegar and, oh, I can't remember what was in
Oh
it.
yeah. So if you take sparkling water, just like a like Pellegrino is great, or club soda. No, I feel like it needs to be
No, it
sparkling
needs to be
water.
Pellegrino.
Don't
It
ask.
needs to be fancy.
It needs to be Pellegrino because I like the aesthetic. Or something in glass, something in glass would do as well. But if you take that and then if you take vinegar, but it has to balsamic vinegar, but a flavored balsamic vinegar, like don't use the brown syrupy stuff. They make tons of flavored balsamic vinegars. They're even making a rosé one. There's cherry. I love the cherry one. Like
Mm.
there's an olive oil. Yeah, olive oil. There's an olive oil store here, and they also carry flavored balsamic
We
vinegars.
have
But
one
I'm
of
sure
those here, and I used to go to it, and you can go and you can. So if you're in the Guelph area,
you taste
yeah,
them. Yeah, you taste them.
it's so. I saw one day just tasting all the vinegars.
Yeah, but the flavored balsamic vinegars, right? You can put them in your sparkling water. It is so tasty. It's really good for you too.
Yeah, there's so many. Like seriously, everybody has to follow you because you have so many cool things that you talk about, and like all the mocktails and stuff that you make. It just I don't know. It makes me excited for you. So here's a deep question for you. When you think about like your next chapter, personally, professionally, what excites you the most about it?
Potential. I can see the really, really big potential and I can see what's coming and what's possible. And I think that just excites me. I've been in business for 10 years and I think this is probably the first time where I'm like, oh shit, hold on, it's about to get real. And because there's not that shame and guilt going on, my energy is different. I'm not cycling back into shame and guilt or it wasn't good enough.
If you could go back and say something to yourself on like day one of your sober journey, like of your sobriety, what would you say to that version of you?
Oh, that's gonna make me cry. I think I would, hmm, I don't know if I would say anything. I think we have to go through what we go through, and I don't want to change any of it. I'm weird like that. I'm like, I wouldn't.
No, I get it. I totally get that.
I would tell her that she's going to be really proud of what happened, the outcome, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I've never been proud of myself in my entire life until now.
I love that. So, for all of the people listening to this, what's one thing that you hope they take away from hearing this story today?
We all have a vice, so give yourself some grace. Everyone has a vice. Mine was just alcohol. Alcohol is a big, loud, screaming vice, but we all have something. And if you can take an honest look at your vices, it could be anything. It could be like sex, food, rock and roll. Maybe you like to buy Labubus.
Boo-boo, so she's La Boobies.
I want to get one.
No, you don't. No, do not get a Labubu. No.
And maybe you have a shopping problem. I don't know. We all have a vice. Maybe we want to control our entire life, because it's safe and it's warm and it keeps us protected. We all know what that vice is. Like, I could pull 100 people right now and they fucking know. They might lie to me, but they know. If you can take a really hard look at your vices and your addictions and actually make a change, it is insane what will happen to your life. I've known for 10 years that I needed to quit drinking alcohol, and I would be presented with the opportunity many times. And your soul path pops up, and I would hear audible voices if you would just let go of alcohol, and I'd be like, shut up, not now. Go back to bed, God.
Shut up.
I'm not ready for that. But if you really, really could overcome your vices, it would change your entire life.
It's also interesting, and you and I have talked about this. So we go through different cycles in our lifetime, and you're in your 40s cycle. And the 40s cycle is really God, universe, whoever you talk about. It's really you being put back on the path that you're supposed to be on. So we can veer off of it, and then things will happen to put us back on the path. And I really feel like for you, this was the big pivot moment of like, nope, she's got to get back on her path. So as she heads into her 50s, like as she goes into that 50s cycle down the road, you can really step into your purpose. Not that you don't step into your purpose in your 40s, but it's like by the time you hit your 50 cycle, you are going to be so owning that purpose and so like making these massive impacts in the lives of others. I feel like I'm just waiting for you to say, hey, I'm writing my book now. Like, I feel like there's something coming. It's like, yep, something.
I know. I have a friend that I just made because I went to Create and Cultivate in LA, and I've convinced her to come to Powerhouse Women that I'm going to on Friday, and then we're going to podcast after. Her name is, well, it doesn't really matter. Anyways, she was posting online that she's like writing her book and her story, and it's like at the publishers, and she got the proof back. This whole process. You know what my first thought was? I was like, why the fuck would anyone want to do that? Like, I'm so excited for her. I'll buy the book. I'll read the book. But I just could not imagine myself putting a book together.
I feel like your book would be, maybe it's not going to be like a paper book. Maybe it's going to be some sort of really cool Substack thing. Maybe it's going to be like some sort of video book. I don't know. It's going to be fucking cool, whatever ends up coming out of you. Plus, we have our Hulu documentary that we've got to do down the road.
Yeah, Brenda and I have put together some serious research into some online scandals. we've put in the time and energy, and I promise you guys will see it on Hulu someday. I know we sound crazy right now, but there are some online scandals.
There's just a lot of online scammers and grifter coaches out there. And I feel like part of Sam's purpose and my purpose is to help expose some things so that people are educated. Because, it's a thing. I'm going to link up like all the places that people can find you. But where would you say is the best place for people to hang out with you?
I think TikTok's great. If you like short form content, my YouTube channel. So TikTok is Samantha Parker Show. And then my YouTube channel is The Samantha Parker Show. Like, come over on either one. I've been making longer format, videos on YouTube, and we'll see where they go. I feel like I'm a newbie over there. I just hit my first 1,000 subscribers. I was really excited.
Let's get everybody over on YouTube. I want the text that says, I've got 1 million subscribers.
Well, I keep getting these emails like 1.5 million views. I'm like, whoa, that's cool.
That is so cool. I always ask this question of people before I let you leave. I always ask this question. What does living a limitless life mean to you? Like, what's your definition of that now?
Okay, well, hold on. What does this 200th episode mean to you?
Oh, she turns it around on me. Honestly, it's interesting because it's like I keep hearing your voice say we can do hard things. This podcast for me, when I started, I think it was back in 2019. And I was throwing spaghetti at the wall. I started it because I had a coach at the time who was like, you should start a podcast. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. But for me, this podcast has helped me connect to so many cool people, and like so many people reach out and they'll be like, "Oh, I was listening to this episode and I changed that. And I'm doing this." People love the affirmations. So for me, it's about being able to connect on even deeper levels and being able to connect even like to more and more people. It's like the words that come out of my mouth. I always used to be like, "Well, who the fuck wants to listen to me talk? Like who wants that?"
Yeah.
And recognizing that the words carry the frequency and they really can impact people, it's been pretty wild for me. So this 200th episode for me is just, I can hear your voice again going, we can do hard things. Like literally we can. These come out every week. I'm doing them. I'm editing them. I never thought I could do that stuff. Like not in a million fucking years. So it's pretty cool to me to be sitting here having a 200th episode when most people don't even make it past episode 10, I think is the statistic.
Yeah.
It's wild. And I also feel like it's a form of therapy for me in this kind of weird way. Got to get used to the video piece. So for me, just being able to do this and having people who want to listen to it and having people take action because of like messages that I'm putting out into the world. Like it's wild to me a little bit, actually, now that I'm thinking about this, because I didn't really think about it in
Well,
that way.
there's only a small percentage that are brave enough to like speak out and share. You know, you put out tips, you put out energy stuff. Like there's only a small percentage of us who are brave enough to share things in our life, but those things have such a deep ripple impact on so many people. You know, so I look at you and I'm like, it's so brave that you've made it to 200 episodes, and it's so wildly amazing that you didn't like put it down and say like, no, not for me, or come up with some reason. Like you're still here and you're still going
Yeah,
200 times.
it's crazy. And also, I would say, like, I've had to deal with some shit building the business. I've dealt with some shit. I've had some shitty coaches. I've had some shitty experiences. And even when it
Mhm.
comes to like the subconscious work and the energy management, I see a lot of shit out there. And I don't want people, I've been through it. So I want to help you not have to go through it. Like, I want to make things
Yeah.
easier for people. Been there, done that. You don't need to do that. Let's do it a different way.
Yeah. Or even like maybe you went through it too and you're like, oh my God, I'm not alone. You know, no one wants to be alone on Loner Island.
It's true, though. Nobody does want to be on Loner Island. We don't.
Yeah.
Wow, that was a deep question. Thanks for that.
Thanks for asking it.
Thanks for that deep thought. That's how our conversations go every day, though. We'll be having like fun conversations, and then there's all of a sudden this like deep thought by Jack Handy. Do you know who Jack Handy is? Are you too young for that?
No, I don't. I'm not that young.
Well, I mean, I'm 10
Are
years.
you too old?
Yeah, are you know? On Saturday Night Live years ago, there was a skit. It was called Jack Handy. And it would be like Deep Thoughts by Jack Handy. And they'd be something
I
stupid
don't know.
like
I've
never
never,
piss into the wind or something like that. But it was,
I think I have like a little bit of a memory. I just never watched that.
or you're going to be getting a YouTube clip of it if I can find it. I also, years ago, hated affirmations because of Saturday Night Live, because there was a character called Stuart Smalley. And
Yes.
he would stand in front of the mirror and be like, I love myself. I'm good enough. And so I always thought affirmations were stupid. And then once I started studying the human brain and how to actually create them so you don't have to do it like Stuart Smalley, realized how powerful they could be.
Well, you have to change your mind about yourself, you know?
Yeah, it's
So like, yeah. But you have to do the work. So if you really changed your mind about yourself, you will act and move into this world that way.
yeah, and what you're doing as well, it's you're shifting your identity. You've changed your identity. You're a completely different person than who you were 5 years ago. You're totally different from who you were 6 months ago. Like you are constantly evolving And you've been brave enough to keep stepping into that version of you, putting yourself out there and going, I'm going to these events that I never went to before because I held myself back. So that's been fucking cool to watch too.
Yeah.
So, Samantha, I love you. Thank
Yes,
you.
yes, Brenda.
Thank you for being on my show, the 200th episode. I'm fucking stoked about this. And who knows? We might be doing this for 300 and 400 and 500. That'd be pretty cool.
Let's fucking go.